And before we join Echo Part 12, a brief announcement. Due to rewrites by Howley, we will not be joining Echo at the end of the previous episode, but just slightly earlier in Kudzu's trailer. We hope that this does not cause any problems for you, and you enjoy the extra scenes. We'd also like to state that, in our opinion, Echo is not suitable for children or those of you of a nervous disposition. Echo Part 12. The water changed that day. Quietly, Kudzu lets us into his trailer, opening the screen door slowly so it doesn't creak. He motions us inside and Jenna follows in behind me, pressing close. I suppose she has good reason to be wary of the place. She doesn't really know Kudzu, and at this point it's hard to even trust people that you do know. Kudzu closes the door and slides the locks in place. Jenna stands next to me in the small living room area, arms folded tightly against her body like she's hugging herself. Hey, you want to sit down? I gesture at the recliner, which Jenna stares at for a few seconds.
I don't know.
The fox's ears are twitching around and pointed straight up. I turn to the small love seat set against the wall instead. Maybe there, I can sit with you. After a few more moments of staring at the couch, Jenna finally nods. She walks stiffly over to the couch, looking at it for a moment before finally sitting down. I notice 3 clumped up patches of fur on the back of her neck. It takes me a moment to realise that it's dried blood. Had someone attacked her? Had she hurt herself? Jenna still doesn't relax when we're settled, and is instead sat bolt upright, leaning hard against my shoulder. Much like her ears, her eyes are darting around, mostly over to the curtained window to our right. Meanwhile, Kudzu elects to sit in the empty recliner after turning it a little to face us. The scraping sound it makes on the floor causes Jenna to jump. Kudzu pauses, blinking, then settles back into the recliner. Sorry, I should really put a rug under this thing. Jenna doesn't say anything and instead just looks back at the window. Kudzu shifts awkwardly in the chair, then looks at me. I look at Jenna, trying to think of something to say. Jenna beats me to it.
Do you know where the others are, TJ or Carl?
Oh, yeah, they're at Leo's place. Them and Leo. Jenna frowns at me.
Then why are we here? Let's go.
She starts to stand up, but I reach out a paw, grabbing her arm. She flinches and yanks away from me, standing up fully. Sorry, just hold on a second. It's complicated.
Why?
Jenna takes a step back from me, folding her arms. The look in her eyes is worrying, like she's starting to not trust me. Look, Leo, he's kinda tight right now. I guess I just wanted to give him some space. Give myself some space, really, away from him. Kudzu shifts in his chair again. He kicked me out. Things got a little heated between us. Jenna looks at Kudzu, the deep frown still on her face.
Why? Leo wouldn't do that without a reason.
She looks back at me as if wanting some sort of confirmation. I nod. Leo isn't really himself right now. I'm really worried about him.
Can we go over there and talk to him?
I open my mouth, but I pause, trying to think of the right way to say it. I don't know. Not right now. I'm not leaving Kudzu, so I'm going to have to think of a way to get Leo to calm down. I'm also considering just staying separate from him until we can get out of here. I don't want to tell Jenna that. She looks stressed out enough as it is. Now that I think about it, I wouldn't be surprised if Leo's out there hunting for me right now. Odds are he's going to come here eventually. Maybe. Maybe he jumped the train already. That reminds me though. Oh yeah, we think we found a way out.
Really?
Yeah, apparently a train goes through here once in a while. We're thinking we can hitch a ride on it. Jenna takes that in and just nods. The silence drags out for a minute or two before I finally lean towards her again.
It's okay. Just sit down and relax for a minute.
She does so with even more hesitance than the first time, sitting on the couch cushion like it might be a landmine. So, where were you these past few days? If you want to tell me, I mean. Jenna stares at the floor, then shrugs.
I don't really know. It's kind of a blur.
I nod. Yeah, same.
I guess it happened 2-3 days ago. I don't remember. where everything was normal and TJ woke up. It was like he was in a trance or something. I wasn't sure what was wrong with him. I thought he might have been having a seizure, and I thought he was in a psychosis of some kind. He left the motel and just started running, so I followed him. He ran all the way to the lake and I was sure he was going to go in. Then he just stopped on the shore and stared at it. I caught up to him and tried to talk to him, but it's like I wasn't there. All he could say was your name, Chase. Chase? Where's Chase? I think he's looking in the water for you.
Jenna looks right at me.
I don't know why. Do you? Of course not.
I shake my head. I have no idea.
Liar.
The couch tilts.
And so I sort of grabbed his shoulder to lead him back away from the lake. Then he turned on me and he sort of just changed. The water changed that day.
My head spins and I brace my paws against the armrest trying not to fall over.
And he attacked me, clawed me up. And for the first time...
Jenna sticks out her arm and pulls back some of the fur where I see bits of crusted blood.
You knew what water felt like. I had to run from him and he chased me for a while. To everyone else. And as I did, I realized the whole town was different. Everyone was different. Suffocating.
I swallow hard, still gripping into the couch, but Jenna doesn't seem to notice and Kudzu's looking at her. The humming in my head finally starts to die down.
You say he's at Leo's. Is he okay? Did he explain what happened?
I shake my head, but only a little. I feel like I'm going to throw up. No, but he has been acting a little strange, I guess.
I need to talk to him. Make sure he's actually okay.
We will. Though I'm not sure that she'll find him okay at all. So what happened after all that? Looked like you were hiding out there. Kudzu gestures a paw at the window. Jenna covers her face with both paws, sighing deeply.
That I'm not too sure about. After I ran, it all just sort of became a dream. I only remember bits and pieces.
We wait a moment as Jenna seems to think.
I remember I went back to the motel, I think. Then I saw something.
Jenna pauses and lets out a little humorless laugh.
A thing that I remember from my childhood. A monster, I guess.
A monster?
Yeah, like this thing.
Jenna waves a paw in front of her face.
Had like a red face and I don't know. I thought I saw it in my closet a few times as a kid. Felt like it was chasing me.
What do you think it was? Jenna laughs hollowly again.
Oh, I don't think it's anything. I must have had my own little breakdown to seeing everyone else's.
Jenna sighs deeply again, sitting back in the couch.
Then you guys came along and now I think everything is clear.
Jenna leans back for a moment, breathing deeply, and for the first time it seems like she's relaxing a bit. She turns her attention back to Kudzu.
Hey, Kudzu, is it?
Kudzu nods.
Mind if I use your restroom? I just need a moment to collect myself. And pee too. An actual toilet would be nice.
Oh yeah, just right there. Kudzu points to the thin little white door between the kitchen and living area.
Thanks.
And with that, Jenna disappears into the bathroom. Kudzu and I sit in silence for a moment, listening to the sound of running water from the faucet. Well, now I think we have a reason to go back to Leo's house. I know he won't be mad at you if he knows you found Jenna. Well, I don't know about that, but yes, we're going to have to go back with her. I'll talk to him first, in case he's still out of it. Again, thanks. I am glad you're here with me right now. Kudzu rubs his arm awkwardly. I get panicky when things get physical, which they have a lot lately. I gesture at the cushion next to me, and after a moment of hesitation, Kudzu gets up from the recliner to sit next to me. I reach around him and squeeze him to my side. It's cool. Like I said, you saved my ass so many times at this point, it's the least I can do. I almost tell him that he's been there for me more than anyone at this point. That feels like a bit too much right now. Kudzu chuckles and leans back, his arm brushing mine. I didn't always used to be like this, you know. What? A fucking coward? I scrunch my muzzle up. What? No way, you've been insanely brave. Kudzu shakes his head. No, you saw me at Duke's house when you got caught, and then down in the basement, and when Leo tossed me out. Those were all great reasons to have been scared, Kudzu. You still faced all of it. Kudzu looks unconvinced. I don't know, Chase. After what Leo did, I don't think I was going to come back. I shrug. Well, then I'm glad I came after you, then. Kudzu's quiet for a moment, and he chuckles quietly, leaning his head back to stare at the ceiling. What? Just, I moved to Echo to get away from stuff like this. Kudzu shakes his head. Now look at what's happened. It's fucking ridiculous. Like, people going crazy. That and guns and violence. Oh, Peyton isn't a rough city compared to others in his country, but it has its rough patches. And I lived in one of those patches. I think he told me he moved here because there's less people. Kudzu sighs quietly. It's not the only reason. I lost someone a few years back. I needed a fresh start, I guess. The silence drags out for a moment as I contemplate that. My eyes drift to the picture frames by the love seat, the one where someone had their arm around Kudzu. In it, I see a hare, smiling just as tuthily as the raccoon next to him, a good head taller than his companion. But now look where I am. I snap my eyes back to the raccoon, not wanting to be caught looking. I don't know what to say, so I just settle with, we can get out. Just got to listen for that train. Kudzu has his eyes closed, so I lean back too. Despite all the shit going on outside, there's something really peaceful about being here, next to Kudzu in his neat little trailer. We sit there a while, listening to the soft rush of running water. After a while I look toward the bathroom, realising how comfortably full my bladder is right now. Jen doesn't seem to be coming out anytime soon, though. Listen, I got to take a piss. Again? Kudzu smirks at me. Well, yeah, it's been a few hours. I pee a lot anyway. Oh, yeah? Oh, very good to know. Yeah, I'll be right back. Kudzu's joking demeanour suddenly drops. Oh, I don't know. I think we should stick together right now. You remember what happened last time? You want to watch me? Kudzu pauses. I'll stand in the doorway, all right? Just go by the side of the trailer. All right, all right. I head back outside where Kudzu hangs back by the door. Just make it quick, and again, yell if something happens. It's fine, I'll only be a few feet away. I hide a small smile at how motherly Kudzu's being right now. After everything that's happened, it's no wonder. I move around the side of the trailer back into darkness. Quickly I unbutton and zip down my fly. I start to go and I hear some footsteps behind me. I look over my shoulder. Kudzu? What? And then two massive paws wrap around my body. I look down and get a glimpse of thick claws and brown matted fur. I scream as I'm pulled back into the dark toward the desert. I know who it is immediately. The smell is unmistakable. That and the high-pitched voice cursing as he drags me along through the brush. Chase! Kudzu's scream sounds like it's only a few yards away. He's going to catch up with us and then, I don't know what. Try to fight Brian off, I guess, but just as I'm thinking that, Brian picks me up off the ground and practically throws me. The next thing I know, my head is throbbing as the back of it knocks against something hard. My legs are all splayed upwards, my foot pads pressed against something smooth and cool. I hear more cursing and the sound of snarling. Kudzu? Then I hear the sound of a car door slam and I realise I'm in a truck, my feet pressed against a windshield. Brian's massive bulk squeezes in next to me and I feel the truck accelerate. The backside wobbles back and forth in the sand as it tries to find purchase in the ground. Then we find the road and I'm pressed back in the seat as Brian steps hard on the gas. I scramble upright into a seated position, pressing back as far as I can against the door, away from Brian. He doesn't seem to be paying attention to me right now, with his eyes fixed on the road. My heart hammers in my chest. Can't even start to comprehend what's just happened to me. Is this real? Am I dreaming? How did I end up fucking things up so badly again? Brian takes a hard turn. I almost tumble into him. In a panic, I kick my feet against his side, keeping myself upright and against the door. The big bear grunts and glances at me before fixing his eyes back on the road. I quickly draw my feet back, pressing my knees against my chest as I try to hold onto the chair to keep from falling over. I realised then that Brian must have been waiting for me, waiting outside Kudzu's trailer for a perfect moment to grab me. I'd given it to him by idiotically skipping outside to take a piss, the result of which I can smell wafting up from my pants. I don't care though. Everything is numb right now and my mind is racing, trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of this. My paw automatically reaches back to pull at the door handle. It's locked. My paw feels along the door looking for the lock. My fingers pass over a small hole where I assume it should be. But it's smooth. It's like the little nub for the pop-up lock is missing. Or that it's been cut off. Swallowing hard, I keep searching. My fingers come across the window crank handle. I tentatively start to roll it down, but it's clear that I haven't thought ahead as Brian immediately notices the drafty air. He lunges at me, one hand still on the wheel. I scream and dodge out of the way, falling into the footwell as I try to escape his massive paws. He doesn't grab me, instead reaching for the handle and rolling the window back up. The truck swerves back and forth as he does, and for a moment I'm sure he's about to roll the whole thing with how fast we're going. He finally sits upright again.
Do that again and I'll knock you out.
And still he doesn't look at me. It's only then I notice the stark difference his demeanour has now compared to the first few times I'd seen him. There's no lust, no animalistic drive to fuck everything around him. Instead there's a sort of desperation about him. I see his eyes dart around in the glow of the headlights, the fur all over his face matted down from sweat. I sit there in the footwell staring up at him, gripping onto the seat as my head knocks back against the glove compartment. After a few minutes of erratic driving and swerving, I gather my wits enough to speak.
What are you doing?
Ryan's eyes flick down toward me, then back up to the road before he shakes his head. He does it slowly, like he can't believe something. He doesn't say anything, at least not for a while. Then, after what could have been anywhere from 2 minutes to 20 minutes, he speaks.
Can you tell me the truth, boy?
I sit there quietly, contemplating making a jump for his door, to open it and tumble out into the desert. If he wasn't injured badly enough, or if I even survived for that matter, maybe I could make a run for it. What truth?
What's going on in this town?
Oh my God. I squeeze my eyes shut and let my forehead thump against the seat. But only for a moment, since I want to be able to keep an eye on Brian. I already told Duke I have no fucking clue. You were there. Ryan grunts as he continues to stare out the windshield, clearly thinking about something. I can't help you or anyone here, Brian. I'm just trying to find a way out. That gives me an idea. Wait. I might know a way to get out of here. If you let me go, I'll tell you. As soon as that comes out of my mouth, I wonder if I made a mistake. Ryan doesn't need to let me go to get me to tell him what he wants. I'm alone here with him. He can do whatever he wants to me. I'd probably tell him whatever he wanted to hear. It surprises me what he says next.
Escaping isn't going to fix any of this. We're all stuck going to see the same shit.
I wait, but he stays quiet. It takes me another minute to work up the courage to ask. See what?
You know exactly what.
He screeches at me in his high-pitched voice, and the truck swerves precariously. I can imagine the tyres sliding off the road for a moment before Brian corrects it.
You know exactly what I'm talking about,
he says more gently, taking deep breaths to calm himself. Then he looks down at me.
Don't you?
I swallow hard, wanting to find the right answer, but unsure of what that might be. Like when Duke saw something on the ceiling in the diner. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Something that Brian saw with me. Let's have a cold guffaw.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, Otter. That and every fucking thing else.
The truck takes another hard turn and I brace myself in the little well. The swerves and turns are becoming more frequent. I can't really see out the window, but I'm pretty sure we're headed into the mountains. Was that creature thing going to attack us? Should I warn Brian?
But we've all been seeing shit for a long time, even before this crazy shit started a few days back.
Brian glances down at me once again.
Haven't you seen stuff here?
My mind immediately thinks back to when I was a kid. I'd seen plenty of things, plenty of horrible things. But the psychiatrist had said that that was normal, that sometimes kids hallucinate. I notice that Brian's not wearing his seatbelt, and I start to toy with the idea of grabbing the wheel. Again, I might be killed. It would at least stop Brian from taking me wherever it is he's taking me. Might even be better to die. Maybe. But my parents, my friends, they haven't really seen stuff. Except Jenna. Now TJ and Carl after all this started. Brian grins with his crooked and missing teeth.
Seems you only see shit if there's a reason to. I don't know what it is either. From what I've seen, it's a combination of a shitty experience being in Echo.
Truck is slowing down a little now as we start taking sharper turns. Brian's calmed down at least. It also means that we're definitely deep in the mountains at this point, the road having turned to gravel.
When I was a kid in Peyton, I didn't see shit, even though I had a pretty fucked up childhood. My mom left when I was 6 because my dad was a piece of shit. But you know she's a piece of shit for leaving me with him. Anyway, you know when my dad told me she gone?
I don't say anything until Brian looks back down at me expectantly. Where? Brian cackles and it sends a chill up my spine.
The aliens had taken her.
I pressed myself deeper into the well, wishing I could just disappear into the floor.
I think he must have been drunk or high or both, but it stuck with me, you know?
I nod, trying to keep the bear happy as he drives along a road so curvy it seems impossible in my mind.
Then when I was a teenager in 87 or so, I got myself a boyfriend. Well, more of a fuck buddy. We kinda hated each other. He talked too much, but he was a good fuck and the only faggot I knew, so I came here every other week or so to fuck him. Then something weird happened on my second or third trip out here. I remember the moon was red that night because the forest fires out west. And I kept looking at it, and that's when I saw a flying saucer, like one straight out of a cartoon with lights and a dome thing on top. I couldn't believe it, but there it fucking was, floating through the sky. You know, even though it looked stupid as fuck, I knew.
Brian takes a wide turn, and the truck slows more and more till it comes to a rumbling halt. My ears ring in the silence as Brian continues to stare out into the night, the headlights lighting up his face.
It knew I saw it, and it was fucking evil. I just knew it.
Brian finally looks down at me again.
That night and almost every night after, I'd wake up and I couldn't move and aliens would be around my bed. And there was this one alien I knew was my mom. She didn't look like my mom, she looked like an alien. But I just knew it was her, and she'd do these things to me, sometimes to my mouth and eyes and nose, but usually to my dick, torture me, and it felt fucking real.
Brian chuckles, still staring at me.
Fucked me up good, and I blame my boyfriend for it, for bringing me to Echo, because I'm sure that's where the evil came from. I outed him that year and he had to leave town because of it.
The massive bear shakes his head.
Didn't stop the dreams though.
Ryan puts the truck in park, then shuts off the engine. We sit there in the darkness and silence, and even though I just emptied my bladder, I feel like I'm going to piss myself again.
Never told anyone that before.
I don't say anything as I just breathe through my mouth, trying to make as little sound as possible.
There's something fucked up in this town that makes us see things, feel things from our past or some shit. Duke told me about it, how it's been happening a long fucking time, but he thinks there's a way to fix it.
Ryan suddenly opens the door and jumps out. He slams the door hard enough to make my ears pop. For about 5 seconds I will myself to move, to run, to open his door and sprint into the night. But my body refuses to move, and before I know it the bear is yanking open my door and grabbing me by the wrist.
And if you help me out with this, we can be done with it for good.
He pulls me out roughly. My legs are like rubber when he sets me on the ground. He holds me up easily with his paws on my arms.
Can you promise me to help? Then I'll let you go and be free of the evil, okay?
All I can do is nod dumbly.
Alright, it's gonna be okay, Otter. I promise.
Brian transfers his iron-like grip to my wrist and starts to pull me along. I stumble after him weakly, trying not to trip in the darkness. Brian stops next to the truck bed and starts to rummage around inside. I feel like I'm going to pee again. What do you need me to do, though? Brian finally pulls something out and looks shiny and heavy. I open my mouth to scream, but that's when a burst of light comes out of one of the ends of it. It's a mag light. I stare at it, gaping stupidly. Brian sweeps the beam of light around. All around us is gravel, sagebrush, and some cacti. I have no idea where we are.
I need to get something and it's in a place that's too small for me to squeeze into. I need your help to get it, okay?
Oh, okay. But what is it? Brian ignores me, looking around. He seems to settle on a direction and sets off, pulling me along with him.
Anyway, it makes me think. All these ghosts and UFOs and monsters people see in the woods, I think they're all connected somehow.
Yeah? I focus on trying to keep the bear happy, pretend to be interested in his ramblings. Meanwhile, we're not even on a trail, just pushing through thick brush and sharp rocks.
Yeah, like little bits of echo are everywhere in the world. Some small like a house, some huge like a town.
That makes sense. No, it doesn't. None of this makes sense. But I have to focus on getting away from the bear. I know I should have made a run for it back in the car. There's no help in that now. We walk for maybe about 100 yards. As we do, the land starts to incline and become steep. Brian even slips up a few times. I'm worried he's going to fall on top of me. Each time he manages to catch himself, then yank me up after him. After a few minutes of huffing and puffing, we reach a bit of an outcrop with some large boulders. Brian lets go of me and clambers up the side of one. Before I can even think of running, he's turned around and grabbed me up by the scruff. I squeak as I'm lifted into the air, feeling like a pup again, for I'm set down beside the bear. Brian looks around, keeping a hold of my wrist as he does. After some stomping and looking around with his flashlight, he seems to find what he's looking for. He brings us to the edge of a boulder, then he lifts me up again, this time by the wrist. I kick around for a moment before he lowers me slowly into a dark, spacious hole. I start to wonder if it's going to go down for a while, and I panic. Before my feet touch down on soft, cold dirt. Musty, cold air wafts from the black space in front of me. Immediately, Brian drops down next to me, snatching up my paw again. He shines a light into the dark patch in front of me and see what looks like a narrow tunnel burrowing to the side of the incline we're on. What is that? Brian grunts and starts to pull me into the opening, but I pull back. Brian yanks me hard and it feels like he almost dislocates my shoulder. I yelp loudly.
Shut up!
Brian hisses at me as he turns sideways to better fit into the tunnel.
It's the mine, you idiot!
What? I look back at the opening back toward Echo, gently illuminated by moonlight. I thought it was sealed.
It is. This is the back entrance. Duke told me about it years ago. Said his family's known about it for decades.
We push through for a while until we come to another tunnel, this one twice as wide as the one we were just in. It branches to the left and the right. Brian stands there for a moment, inhaling deeply as he looks around.
Hang on, it's been a while.
I can't help myself from blurting out, "You don't know where to go?" I expect him to hit me or something, but he ignores me. Finally, he pulls me to the left. The idea of being trapped here with Brian, lost in the mine, is more terrifying than anything that's happened in the town so far. The air is so musty and dry I feel like coughing and sneezing at the same time, but I try to hold it in so I don't upset Brian. We walk for another 10 minutes or so, taking a few more turns. I try to memorise the route in case I'm able to break free. After 5 or so branches, I realise I can't remember the second or third. Brian suddenly speaks up, nearly making me jump in the darkness.
After a while, I stopped seeing aliens.
Its grip is tight and I can feel that the circulation to my paw is cut off. It's just a mass of pins and needles at this point.
Now I just see people.
What kind of people? People you know? I try to keep Brian talking while I think. At some point he's going to have to let go of me again, and then I'm going to have to make a run for it no matter what. Kudzu probably saw which direction we drove off in. He probably went to get Leo to get the car. But at this point I doubt they're going to be able to find us, at least not in time. We went into the mountains, probably through some back road that none of us even knew existed. Then Brian took me through hundreds of yards of desert to find a tiny opening behind some boulders. There's no way they're going to find me here. I'm on my own.
Well, I just see one person. The person changes every now and then.
Brian pauses, looking to a narrow opening in the tunnel wall, even more narrow than the first passage.
Depending on who it was I last knew.
Before I can figure out what he meant by that, I'm shoved hard, forced to enter the passage in front of Brian. It's just wide enough that I can walk straight, my shoulders nearly touching both sides. Brian, on the other hand, has to suck in and move sideways, grunting and cursing and making all kinds of noises. Brian's let go of me as he tries to pull himself through, though he keeps knocking into me to send me forward. I could try to escape, but I have a feeling that doesn't exist ahead of me. In fact, it feels like I'm being trapped. I can't explain it, but I start to get a terrible feeling that something awful is waiting for me at the end of this passage. And then I start to smell something. It's old and almost covered up by the dust and mustiness, but it's definitely there. Sweet and sick. Something rotting. It feels like ice water is poured down my back and I freeze, only to be given a shove by the bear behind me. I fall forward into a wider opening. The smell entombs me, and I know without looking that I'm surrounded by death. To be continued.